I've seen reports suggesting that FFP regulations and rules are going to affect Manchester United's January transfer window plans for Erik ten Hag. So I've done a bit of research. I've done a bit of digging and tried to find out as much information as possible on. It's not called FFP anymore. Was it Financial Sustainability Regulations? I believe it's called from UEFA. What a mouthful of bullshit that is. Anyway, I'm going to run through the rule changes and apply it to Manchester United and help us all understand why I think there is a conversation to be had around FFP and what can happen in January for United. It's supposed to be a video to help you all understand, to inform you all. So please do drop a like on the video. I do enjoy doing these ones. A little bit more research into it. But it was Dharmesh Sheth from Sky Sports who suggested that United are conscious of complying with FFP. But before I want to go into and talk about it, can I just say how much of a joke FFP is and has been since its creation? From what City have done, with what Chelsea have done, with what PSG have done, with what Barcelona did last summer, selling off so much of their future assets and just balancing their books in twisted ways. FFP. I mean, it's not financial fair play. It's never been financial fair play. It's an utter and complete joke. But when you look at Manchester United's financials, this is why the protests, the financials have not been why the protests have been going on. But anybody who's followed anybody's United fan, man, knows what the Glazers have been doing for a while, but the chickens are really coming home to roost at the moment. I've always looked at FFP and I've linked it to revenues of clubs. And I've always looked at Manchester United and said, okay, you know, things might be shit, but our revenues are still massive. We're still one of the biggest clubs in the world, still over 700 million in revenue, but that doesn't take into account a lot of things. And that's what I want to try and explain in this video. Let's get into it. So the changes to FFP, I believe, came in June 2022. And as I said, they're now called the Financial Sustainability Regulations. Unless you just break the rules and pay us a little bit of money, and then you can do what you want. That's absolutely fine. And this is what they said here. They said that they were changing it after COVID-19 because of the losses that were sustained by clubs. Now, I don't quite understand whether there's going to be, I mean, there is leeway when it comes to losses, but geez, United need a lot more leeway than is written in these rules if they're going to get away with it. Saying that these regulations are to ensure that clubs have to be stable, solvent, and keep their costs under control. Yeah, that really worked with City and Qatar, didn't it, my friends? No overdue payables rule, the football earnings rule, and the squad cost rule. That's the three, they call it distinct pillars. But it's this first one which I'm going to focus on. The stability and football earnings rule. And you can see that one, this rule in full here. The acceptable deviation has increased from 30 million euros over 3 years to 60 million euros over 3 years. And the acceptable deviation can be increased further by 10 million for each reporting period in the monitoring period for clubs showing good financial health. Now that, I'll be honest, I haven't taken this concept into account. Reporting period, does that mean each quarterly period or each annual period? I don't know that part. But when you focus on this top level number here, and you see that the deviation can be 60 million euros over 3 years, let's take a quick look at Manchester United's reports, financial reports for the last 3 years. And because we're working in 3-year cycles and we're now entering the 4th year, this is where concerns, I think, are fairly had. The latest annual reports, you know, the Manchester United reported a loss of £115.5 million. Wow. Wow. That is a huge loss from Manchester United. If we go here and we look at the year before, it was £92.2 million. Manchester United really reeling from coronavirus, as are a lot of clubs. I mean, Juve, there are a ton of clubs that have lost money. But United are losing 1 year there, 115.5. The year before, 92.2. And the year before that, it was 23 million. Now, if we dive into Manchester United's actual financial reports here, and we pull this up, we can see the lost profit for the year, 115.5, 92.2, and 23.233. So if we did this, right, let's pull this up on screen. 115,510 plus 92,216 plus 23,233 means that over the last 3 reporting years, Manchester United's losses are just shy of £231 million. Are these pounds? I think they're in pounds. I actually didn't. Oh yeah, it's stated there. unless otherwise indicated. £231 million. And let's rewind to what these new sustainable rules say, according to UEFA, that those losses can be 60 million over 3 years. And if you top these three up, Manchester United are in excess of 200 million. And that's where I understand where these concerns are coming from. And you know what makes it worse, right? Is when you look at what's coming ahead. Because Manchester United had a pre-tax loss of almost £2.5 million per week in the first quarter of 22-23. And if you top that up together, I think 34 down there, and you add that all up, what's that times 4? I mean, I know it won't, and realistically, the numbers in the second and third quarters are going to get more and more expensive. I believe that's the general pattern. 34,370 times 4. That's going to, as I said, this is, can I just say one sec, this is just a pure estimation, and this is not a projection of what the losses will be, but given what happened in the first quarter, this is the assumption that we're making, that it stays the same. It will be a loss of £137 million. And we go along here and we can see that Manchester United, simply put, don't have the cash to fund this sort of loss and to sustain this sort of loss, which is exactly why Manchester United have been borrowing money, and Manchester United have been paying for players on the credit card. Now, you'll remember that, what was it? Last week, even only a few days ago, I did a video saying that, look, Manchester United, if we wanted to, we have a £100 million overdraft facility. We've got £200 million out already from the bank. We could, if we wanted to, withdraw another £100 million. And that was completely the truth. Maybe what I didn't factor in is the fact that we as a club are hemorrhaging money. Almost £2.5 million a week. Our cash balance is so low, and we're just paying for everything on debt. That, yeah, we may well be taking that £100 million out. But that might just be to run the club. That might just be to sustain our actual costs. And the more you dive into it, the more you really, truly understand why these protests have been happening so vociferously over the last 12 to 14 months, and have been for a long time. You know full well that the Glazers are trying to sell the club, and this is why the Glazers are trying to sell the club. It is no exaggeration to say they are taking us towards a financial crisis. Losses of 115 million, 92 million, and 23 million. Obviously, COVID had a massive impact, yes, but the Glazers have overseen Manchester United, we're just disappearing financially. And that's despite the fact that our revenues are still so incredibly high. Imagine that. Revenues of $700 million, and we're still losing quite a substantial amount of money. So this is probably where I understand this conversation that's been happening here, that Dharmesh Sheth is suggesting that Manchester United are conscious of complying with FFP. Because having done, look, I'm no financial expert. I'm not saying this is the golden standard, right? I've just tried to do my own research, been doing it for a couple of hours to try and get my head around what's going on. Will FFP really affect it? Now, if according to this rule here, not that rule there, that the losses can be 60 million over 3 years, United are way in excess of that. And we are heading to another loss this year, another substantial loss, and maybe even a bigger loss than any of those three before. This is why we are in such a dangerous position. This is why fans are fighting for this to happen. For Avram Glazer to be gone. For Joel Glazer to be gone. For Ed, every single one of those snakes to be gone. Matt Judge, you've already gone. And Richard Arnold, you can probably go with him. I'll be honest, I want a clean slate. I don't want any of them. This is why we fought so hard for it as a fan base. And this is why we will continue to fight for it. And this is why what these guys at the 1958 have been organising has been such an important facet of all of this. I'm not saying it's contributed to all of it, no. But it all contributes, every single bit by bit. But I wanted to do this video because I thought it was... I looked at this from Dharmesh Sheth and I'm like, how is FFP going to affect United? Really, it felt like he was just jumping on it for the sake of it. But having dived into it and looking at these numbers and the fact that there's a deviation of 60 million allowed over 3 years, we've had that 3 years and we've lost in every single year. Will there be more leeway given because of COVID? I don't know. These are the rules that came in June 2022, which had COVID as part of it. So looking at these, I'm correct in saying that United can take out 100 million, but I'm also correct in saying we're hemorrhaging money so badly as a club. We have such little cash left in the club, and there is a chance that 100 million gets taken out to pay for the club and not for the players. And that's why maybe January is going to be another loan market for United. Not maybe. This is probably exactly why we have been approaching the loan markets in the last few January windows. Bruno Fernandes aside. You can let me know what you think about this all in the comments below. I hope this video is sort of... I'm not saying, as I said, I'm not saying this is the gold standard. I'm sure there's more research I need to do into this, and I kind of need to speak to Kieran Maguire on it as well. He's my guy. But I hope this has helped, and if it has, please drop a like on the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, as you always do, and I'll speak to you soon.